The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
Hamidou says, Athene, how was your weekend? Person, it was great. I had a good time. The thing is though, I don't even ask people how was your weekend. I don't ask these questions. It's irrelevant. How good of a time did you have, sir? Yeah, it was really good. And some small talk about weather. I just don't do that. Man, I find it actually quite fascinating. Actually, I wanted to even talk about it when I'm in contact with people, right? Outside this place. Even when it comes down to my own family. And I have to say, my mother is still quite fine. But just in general, when I talk to other people from my family, so much of the times, if not all the time, it's just, these conversations are so empty. I already explained you guys that like last time when I went to a family reunion 3 years ago. I didn't even want to go, I did it for my mom, but either way. To see the emptiness where everybody's trying to show off their achievements or taking turns to talk and not listen to the other person, it's really baffling. It's mind-blowing. I wonder, you guys are watching this real talk over and over again, right? I mean, this is the most real thing you guys are probably exposed to in your entire life. It's this real talk. If the real talk curtain falls, you're just left with empty interactions. I really think a lot of you guys have a stronger real connection with me, even though I've never met you, than with anyone else. Isn't that crazy? I think it's quite crazy if you think about it. People's relationships are so empty. It's just, yeah, how was the weather? How are you doing? You don't care how I'm doing. It's just small talk. The way I go about it, right, in interactions, is I am quite real when I am in a conversation. I'm just sincerely curious, and it's extremely gravitating. When I talk to someone, like sometimes if I'm in a cab, right, and I need to drive and I don't have anything to do, right, then sometimes I just start asking questions to the cab driver. And I see these guys open up like crazy because I'm just sincerely curious about his life and how he goes about things. Because I'm just interested, how can a person drive a cab for his entire life? How do you do that? It doesn't come from a demeaning place. I just truly want to understand. Everybody has their own lives, but man, people settle and miss out opportunities. It's insane. All of you guys watching this stream, right? Almost all of you guys settle and miss out so hard. Don't settle, guys. Growth is part of life. You don't want to settle being a baby if you can grow up being an adult. It's so much more enriching. You don't want to settle being a dog if you can be a human. You don't want to settle being a cell if you can be a dog. Why do you guys settle? Like honestly, seriously, if you look in the mirror, why do you settle? Because you think it's more comfy? No, it's not. You guys end up being trapped inside the entire system, turning you into a little piece where you have no control, where you just, it's fascinating. I find it so fascinating. You guys can do so much more. All of you guys can do so much more. Why? Because of having a good time? I'm not even talking about the price. At what price? Because I can't even talk about that. Having a good time. What price does someone else have to pay for you to have a good time? Is it worth it? Is it worth having a good weekend if you could do something else and literally save a life? Is it worth it? That good time? I actually wonder. If you guys go through life, right, do you guys realize that every single action and decision you make, whether it is what you buy or how you spend your time, it has consequences? I think people lack the perspective because you guys go through life very single player mode. You think everyone is an NPC. People are real people. And the crazy thing is, if you start gaining perspective, you open up your world. I'm not even yelling at you guys. I'm not even blaming you guys. I just think this comes more from a place where I just feel for you guys in a sense that you guys are missing out so much and you're being the sucker. And the people that get affected by your inaction or your decisions are also the suckers. Everybody's just a sucker. It's so unfortunate. Well, we have literally the tools in our hands, right, to do something about it. It's almost like a cynical movie or something, like a cynical humor. Why are you guys there sitting, watching the stream, while you could just internalize this truth that you could do so much more. You'd be so much more fulfilled too. Why allow yourself to come up with all these excuses, right? To protect this thing that keeps you being a prisoner. All these attachments lock you up. I'll tell you guys a nice little story. Do you know that when it comes down to fighting for your rights, right? Like, for example, women in African countries, right? Do you know that the biggest resistance they get is not from the father, but from the mother? Because the mother has learned to settle for the cultural norms. And when they see their daughter going for a more free approach, they resist it and go against it. I can speak out of experience because my father is Moroccan. I know a lot about marriage, pre-marriage and all that stuff. And it's mainly the woman that influence their daughter to follow the same cultural norms. It's because they settled. You guys are doing the same thing. You look at new generations and you think like, oh, this or that, but you're just looking at it from your own bubble. Just like when you looked at your parents thinking they were looking at you from their bubble, you're trapped inside that same bubble. And we all think we're special. We all think we're different and better. But we're all at the end of the day trapped in the same bubble of ours. And it's so little that it takes to pop it. It's not even such a big deal. It feels maybe a lot, anxiety or whatever, or you feel really hard. But man, once you make the decision to stop settling and to just be honest and only settle for what's real, dude, it's so liberating. You become much more fulfilled and impactful. You grow up and it's really how it's meant to be. I find it fascinating that so many people of you guys watch me so often. And you guys are in this constant influence of distraction and entertainment and emptiness all the time. You guys know better. And you also have an alternative. I wonder, with all the real talk, right? Like honestly, if you just take the time to just reflect on this, right? And reflect on your life. Let's say you project in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, when you're in your deathbed and you look back, what is it that you're going to remember? All the good weekends you had? The important things that truly matter, right? It's not having fun. It's helping other people. It's leaving something behind that is worth more than just your own empty desires being fulfilled. And at what price as well? Most of you guys don't even think about that. There is so much fucked up shit going on in the world. We are responsible to do something about it. Taking responsibility, right? And doing good in the world. It is the least we can do. I just find it fascinating. You guys have this choice, right? This decision. And you're just looking at it. And just like everything else in your life that is so passive and impulsive, it has boiled down to the point where it's, even when it's clear as day, the most single effort, you don't take it. It's like that one music video with the guy that is eating stuff and there is a Mars and he can't even reach it. And just grabbing it is too much effort. You guys have been so much more doozed into this state of a real, indoctrinated, passive consumer, grinding away your life, while it could mean so much more for yourself and for the world. And the only thing it takes is a little bit activation energy to make a decision to say like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. That's all. A little activation energy to say like, hey, I'm gonna do something meaningful with my life. I'm not just gonna grind it away like this. I'm better than this. This place, right, is a gift. This place is such a gift. I made this place because I knew the struggle I had to go through to even find like-minded people and to deal with all the financial problems and making sure I was fine and not have to worry about this entire web of bullshit. This place has no web of bullshit. You come over, you can just do what has true meaning, contribute in a way that even if you don't know what to do, it's really given to you. You grow, you learn skills, everything that even helps you at life. And yet some of you guys are in such a consumer indoctrinated phase that you'd rather slave away 6 years of your life in university or whatever, go into debt, and then afterwards leave with having less than coming over here just for a year. It's insane. And people that have come over here, right, you see them talk. People grow so much in this environment. Why do you guys do that? Why do you let that happen to you and to the world? Why? It takes so little effort. Why do you let these excuses allow you to choose for this life that is so less meaningful and so much more empty. You guys know that what I say is true. You guys know it. Activate. Stand up. I'm not even trying to convince you. It's just, to me, when I reflect on these things and when I see the emptiness in the world and the vast negative consequences on other people, at what cost? For what? Having a good weekend? I bet I had a better weekend than you guys. Even though it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't even matter to me at all. I never think about it like, oh, I felt really good when I woke up. I don't think about that. It doesn't keep me busy. I just am. And I do what I gotta do, and that's it. Some of you guys have been watching the Real Talk for so long, and it takes so little to do so much. It just takes one decision. That's it. On a fundamental level, one decision. No, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not good for me. I'm better than this. This is not good for the world. Hey Athene, I don't think this is a derail. What's your opinion on people like Jake and Logan Paul, those kind of YouTubers? Do you think they are just reaction to a demand, or they truly damage young kids and make their personal bullshit worse via reinforcement and worsen their perspective? Like, everything I said is so personal to you guys, right? And still you allow yourself to distract yourself from the point I'm trying to make, to just talk about random noise in society because it's hip, and tomorrow it's something else. Are you guys aware, right? When you talk now about Jake and Logan Paul, that half a year ago or a few months ago, it was not Jake and Logan Paul, it was Shkreli. And then a month before it was something else. And every month, every time, it's new stuff, new irrelevant bullshit that keeps you busy and fills you up to be this drone consumer. And that is the problem. And things like Logan Paul and Jake are not the root of the problem, they're just symptoms. And you're part of the root of the problem. It's this passive inactivity, even though you know, and you're in a spot better than anyone, to do something about this world in a good way, to do something about yourself. Still, you think it is worth asking these kind of questions. It's fascinating. This is about a conversation for you to have with yourself. Do you guys realize that you guys live life day by day, right? And sometimes it's very scary to imagine and look at yourself where you're going to be in 20 years or 30 years or whatever. It's actually crazy that we have grown to be so passive, right? That we don't even mind screwing ourselves over. We make decisions right now that could even screw ourselves over tomorrow, and yet we don't care about it because the now is more important. Most of you guys are your own biggest threat. Do you know that? People that smoke, people that eat unhealthy. It is you, yourself, that is your own biggest threat. And for what? Well, if you take a little bit perspective and look at your life in a bigger thing, like, you can be so much more fulfilled. But no, you don't care. Because right now, the path of least resistance is to do what feels good. Do you see how this feels good paradigm is screwing you over like crazy? It turns you into a drone. It turns you into a passive consumer. It turns you into making decisions that go against you and others. It doesn't work.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow The Real Athene on Snapchat.